start. My glasses. All right, good morning, everyone. For those of you who regulars, you already know my speech, but just give us a minute or so. I want to let the attendees filter in. So you'll just sit and sort of look at Alan and I for a second, and then once we have a few people filtered in, we'll get started. Keeping an eye on time. All right, I'm going to get going because we have a lot of content today, so I don't want to delay starting. So good morning. It is our webinar series, and today we have B2B marketing and B2B digital marketing, and it's presented by Alan Zickefoose, who's joining me, and he is the digital media manager at a B2B marketing firm called JSJD. He actually, I have the pleasure of working with him in one of my other hats that I wear, and I can say he is truly full of knowledge about this. So I'm really happy. That's why that's why he's presenting for us, because I recognize that it would be very helpful to everybody here. Just a couple of quick housekeeping rules. So SCORE Monmouth, as you guys all know, we are a nonprofit entity. We are 100% volunteers here in the Monmouth chapter, and we offer free mentoring to small businesses. We're actually a national entity. So if you're not in Monmouth County, there is a branch that can help you. I love that the subtitle said Mumbai County. That's really funny. So if you have questions, please go in through the Q&A function. It's much, much easier for us to make sure we address all your questions through the Q&A function. Try not to use the chat. We do welcome questions, as you guys know, so as many questions as you want to ask, and we'll pause and we'll take and answer those questions throughout the webinar. We are recording this. It will be available on our YouTube channel within a few days. So if there's any content that you want to see afterwards, it'll be on our YouTube channel. I think that's it. I think that's my housekeeping, and I am going to hand over to Alan now so he can take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Hope Wednesday is treating you like a breeze. We're halfway there. So just a quick tidbit about myself. So I've been in B2B marketing since 2009. I got in 2009. I was working with associations, kind of cut my teeth there. And as the industry kind of evolved, it forced me to evolve. So I've moved into these other strategies we're going to kind of talk about today. So enough about me. We're not here for me. We're here for you. So let's kind of go through this presentation a little bit and kind of walk through some of these different strategies. And these are kind of the top of the line marketing strategies that a lot of companies are leveraging these days. So these are things that if you're not leveraging right now for your business, you probably should start to look at. You know, obviously these are some of these strategies you're going to be familiar with because I don't own them, right? These aren't strategies that my company founded and started. These are very familiar, you know, across the marketplace. So you have access to them and you can leverage a company, you know, to do it for you. You could do it all in-house. So let's get going. So I guess I'm going to kind of start here. I find that a lot of the companies that I work with have to first kind of start with identifying who I want to get in front of, right? So they're thinking before they even come to me, they've sat down and figured, okay, this is my ideal audience. This is who I want to reach. I think sometimes you have to really get granular with who that is, right? Because you might have a product or a suite and you can service very large companies, or you might have a product or suite that you can only service a small company, right? Maybe your company, average company size is only 10 to 100 employees, and that's really all your product can manage. So you have to look at all those types of things, because in today's market, in today's advertising platforms, you have the ability to get really granular with how you're marketing and who you're getting in front of. So when you start to go through this and you start to look at who do I want to get in front of, don't just look at who is the decision maker, right? Look at who are the decision makers, who are the influencers, who would influence that purchase, right? If it's a small company, if my company say is 10 employees, most likely The decision maker is the influencer, right? There's not going to be a line of command that they're going to be going to. But as you get into these larger organizations, you're going to have your final decision maker, but on top of that decision maker, you might have, 5 levels of influencers that you're going to want to get in front of. So as you go through and you're building out your marketing strategy and you're looking at who you want to get in front of, not only do you want to have a message that goes specific to that final DM, maybe it's a CEO or a CFO or a CIO, but you also might have influencers along the way that help them make that decision. And they're the ones that are actually responsible for bringing that product to that decision maker. So you'll want to start to look at, okay, how big are the companies that I'm wanting to get in front of? Are they 10 employees? Are they 100 employees? Are they 10,000 employees? Once you've identified that, start to break down who the DMs are, who the influencers are, because again, you can create separate marketing campaigns for each. Geography is one of those ones where that I find some companies miss the target on, because maybe you think you can sell internationally or you sell internationally, but the bulk of your business is really coming from the Midwest. Why spend money marketing to Europe if 99% of your business is coming from the US? So with these programs that we're going to talk about today, you have that ability. And with most digital campaigns, to be honest, you have the ability to say, okay, this is the geo I want to get in front of. Maybe the bulk of your business comes out of, 1 or 2 states. Maybe you're heavily working out of Texas or California. You don't realize it. So understanding your geo and who you're reaching is important. Obviously, refining your marketing message to the audience, right? So when you go back, if you step back a second and you're thinking, okay, DMs versus influencers, the message you're putting in front of the DM could be different than the message that you want to get in front of an influencer. That decision maker might be looking at X, thing, right? X aspect of your software, your service, or your program, where these influencers, they might be looking at a different aspect of it. So refining your message and what you want to get in front of each audience will be important. And then knowing your competition. Who are you getting into the ring with, right? Are you going against a multinational company with thousands of locations and they've got unlimited marketing budgets? You got to know those things, because that helps you, kind of figure out what you need to do. How can you separate and differentiate yourself versus them, right? So this is a really key aspect to establishing your marketing plan, is knowing who your customer is. The other thing you want to look at is and consider and kind of understand is the buying journey. You're in a B2B setting. In a B2B purchase, and I'm sure you guys are aware of this, this isn't me trying to educate you on your business. A B2B purchase isn't instant, right? It's not like a consumer transaction. We're not buying a pair of shoes. It's not something where they're going to say, hey, I have a need, and today they've gone to the store and they purchased those shoes. Or in a worst case scenario, an appliance goes out, and this is going to take me a week to make a decision. Most B2B purchases, and I'll speak for my customers, I have customers that have, a 3 to 6 month sales cycle, and I have customers that have a 3-year cycle. So it can be long. There's a lot of things that happen along the way, and these are all things that you can be doing. This is all owned media down here. These examples are owned media. Owned media is just like as it sounds, media you own. So maybe it's infographics, or you have articles that you guys are pushing out, or maybe you have videos that you're pushing through YouTube, or you're working on your SEO. And we're going to kind of talk about this. So this is a fun one. These are all different types of owned media, and you can leverage them throughout this entire journey. From building awareness in the very beginning. If you think about, again, you as a consumer, put your consumer hat on. You don't buy from brands you're not familiar with or aware of, right? When's the last time you bought a product from a company that you knew nothing about, that you've never seen? It's almost impossible if you think about it. I know it sounds kind of ludicrous, but if you don't know the company, you're not aware of the company, it's impossible to consider them or to buy from them, right? And that the same thing applies in B2C and B2B. B2B is even more difficult because, again, of how long the cycles are. It's not just being, having that little bit of awareness in the beginning, but you have to constantly maintain it, because as they're going through this cycle and they're going down this road and through this journey, they've got to continually see you and be reminded of you to remember that you're there, right? So the journey's long, and there's lots of things that you as a company need to be doing to stay in front of and stay engaged with your buyers throughout that entire journey. Before we kind of dig into one of the strategies that we're going to talk about today, any questions at this moment?
So far, no questions. So far, we're good. You can keep going.
Perfect. I didn't think we'd have a lot of questions there. That's a lot of just kind of ABCs of business there. So let's dive in with programmatic. So this is probably the bulk of our content today, specifically because it's the technology that's most confusing. When I'm talking to clients, most of the time, when I ask a question, are you familiar with programmatic? The answer is no. They have never heard of it before. But when I give examples of what it is and we start to talk through it, the light bulb comes on, it starts to click, and it's like, you know what? I have seen this. I am familiar. I just wasn't aware of what it was or what it's called. So if you think about the olden days, back in the late 90s, I think 1995 or 98 is when programmatic kind of first kind of poked its head out and started to become a thing. So as the years have gone by, the technology has just evolved and gotten better and more refined. But programmatic ad buying is just buying ads in real time based on data about that individual. So if you think about the ways of old, where you used to, let's say you wanted to put an ad on, and I use Yahoo a lot because it's a really big publishing website. They're a huge publisher. But let's say you wanted to put an ad on Yahoo. You would contact Yahoo or whoever manages their advertising. You say, hey, I want to put an ad on Yahoo, and I want to run Monday through Friday. I want to run 8 to 5 because I'm a business. Well, you're going to spend a lot of money serving ads on Yahoo. You're going to miss the mark a lot, right? Yes, your buyers go there, your customers are there, but it's not everyone that's going to Yahoo is your buyer. So you're missing the mark a lot. What programmatic introduced is it gives you the ability to buy an ad on a big site like a Yahoo, an ESPN, a weather.com, some of these mega sites. It gives you the ability to buy an ad there, but only when someone that you've deemed important for your business is on that website. So you're not serving ads on, again, Yahoo 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're serving ads on that website only when someone that you want to get in front of is on that website. So it's just using automated technology to buy ads in real time based on demographic information, maybe behavior that person's exhibited, maybe the location that they're in, the type of content they're consuming. All these different things can come into play when you're leveraging programmatic. So it's really nice. It's cost effective. It's efficient. It's very, very customizable. It's transparent. Obviously with digital, the nice thing about digital is very transparent and trackable. You can see how many, go ahead.
Isn't what we like to say when everybody thinks their phone is listening to them or their computer is listening to them, because you Googled or you thought about, a certain thing, and then all of a sudden that ad for that thing is showing up in your browser. This is how it works, right? They're not actually really listening to you. It's more scary than that. It's tracking in many other ways.
Yeah. It's way more scary than them listening to you. They see everything that you do. And we'll talk about some functionality later where, it's cross device matching, where you've done something on one device and it hits you on another device. It's crazy. But so this is programmatic. So what's nice about the technique or the technology is that I can use one technology, one program to hit my customers across the entire buying journey. From a very top of the funnel, they're unaware of you type program, down to a behavioral, which is going to be more of a behavioral, is more like a middle of the funnel strategy where this person's online exhibiting behaviors for your product. So they're really in that research mode, right? To someone that's gone to your website. If I visited your website, I'm showing intent for you. I've gone to your website. I've maybe browsed around a little bit, maybe downloaded something, maybe entertained what you have. You want to stay in front of that person. That's a bottom of the funnel strategy, but you're using one technique or one form of technology in programmatic to accomplish all of this. So it's very, very customizable. You can deliver different sets of creative based on the strategy or the technology you're using, and we'll kind of work through those today. So really nice. Also very customizable from a geo, as I was kind of talking about earlier. If you sell worldwide, great. You can set it up so that you're serving ads globally. But what if you only focus on, the Eastern Seaboard? What if your business really only relies, in this region of the country? Do you really want to serve ads worldwide or even across the US or North America? No, you want to focus those ads in those regions that are relevant for your business. So with programmatic, and again, a lot of the digital technology that we're going to talk about today, you have that ability to get very granular with not only who you're targeting, but where you're targeting. So it's very, very customizable from a geo standpoint too. You can actually target down to a zip code, which is really awesome. So really cool there. Let's dig in and talk about strategies. So this is what's called persona targeting. Persona is not a word that I invented. It's not a word that I came up with. It's an actual technology that is leveraged across multiple platforms. Multiple data companies will use this, or vendors will use this. So it's not something, again, that I just invented. But persona targeting is just what it sounds. You're creating an ideal persona. So the picture I'm painting today, just very simple, is I want to target superintendents. Let's say you're in the education space and superintendents are your ideal customer. That's really who you want to get in front of. With persona targeting, you can leverage thousands of data points to create and build your exact audience. So you can say, okay, I want a data segment for education. Okay, that's great. But if I do just a data segment for education, I'm going to have a lot of waste, because I'm not just hitting supers. I'm hitting maybe I'm hitting school boards, maybe I'm hitting teachers and principals and coaches, and you're hitting a lot of people that aren't really your buyer. So education's great, but you can get a little bit more granular than that and say, okay, I want to layer in the job title I'm focused on. Not only do I want the education industry, but I want to target superintendents specifically within education. Now I have my superintendent segment. So I'm using my job title. And again, there's no point in targeting people that aren't relevant for you. If you can't serve globally, or you can't serve even within North America, then don't buy ads in Canada, right? So in this instance, again, just using United States, I only want to target superintendents within the US. So I've taken these 3 data segments, I've layered them together to create my ideal audience. So this triangle right here is where we're living. I'm only serving ads to people that are in all 3 data segments, and they're crossing into all 3 at once. So you're hitting this perfect audience. Now, when they're online, they're seeing ads. Everywhere they go, you have the ability to serve ads to that person. Now, with a business, in a B2B setting, like I'll tell my clients, you don't want to serve probably more than 3 to 5 ads a day, because you'll become a nuisance, right? You're not a consumer brand. You're not Amazon. And I use Amazon a lot because they target me nonstop, because my wife shops on Amazon. I'm on Amazon, right? So they're serving me ads all the time. Well, at a certain point, you become annoyed, right? So you're like, I don't want to buy from Amazon anymore because I'm getting 30 ads a day. In a B2B setting, you really have to manage that. So we will only, I'm typically telling my clients 3 to 5 ads per day. That's that sweet spot where they're seeing you enough, but they're not seeing you so much they're getting annoyed. There's a lot of data that says we're seeing about 5,000 ads a day when you take in all the mediums that will see ads. So you want to have something set up where you're getting seen, but not too much. So any questions on this aspect?
Yeah, the question, is there a minimum number of ads you should do, like daily or weekly? Or, I mean, 3 to 5 a day is the perfect number, right? But
Right.
Is there a point where it's not enough and it's not worth doing it? Or as opposed to I mean, we talked about too many. Is there a point where it's not enough?
Yes, there definitely is, depending on how large your audience is. So when you're dealing with programmatic, and there are companies that do it, a lot of different ways, but the common way to buy ads is on what's called a CPM, or cost per million. So I'm going to buy ads, say I'm going to buy 1 million ads, right? And I'm going to have those 1 million ads delivered over the course of the year. Well, if your audience size is 50,000 people and you only have 1 million ads, well, you're not going to have enough ads to hit your audience. You're not going to have enough ads to really penetrate or make impact. Again, if you're sticking to that 3 to 5 ads per day per person, right? If you've got, let me pull out my calculator. Where's it at? Here we go. So if I've got 50,000 people in my audience, well, I want to serve 3 to 5 ads per day throughout the year. I have to make sure that I have enough ads purchased to be able to do that. Does that make sense, Claire?
Yeah, it does. It makes great sense.
Okay. Any other questions?
That may have answered the next question that's there. So we have a question that somebody would like to make their virtual classes global. So I think that speaks to the number of adverts. And Jasper, if I didn't get that question right, if you could just repost it, that would be great. But I think the question is, if I want to make my classes, I have virtual classes and I'd like to make them global. So that speaks to the number of ads, right? Because the number of people that you're targeting.
Yep. It'll always come back to that.
Okay.
How many ads do you need to make impact, right? Again, if you're thinking about, I want to get in front of this superintendent, for example. Well, if I've got 10,000 superintendents, I need to make sure that each superintendent is seeing enough ads where I'm making impact with them. So yes, that's exactly the answer to your question. Know how large the audience is, so you know how many ads to buy. And that's as simple as it gets. And then you'll just set your geo up to be globally, and then globally they're going to see you. If someone, again, if you're doing persona, for example, if I've created this exact segment, but I made this global, right? That's all you're doing. That's the main difference.
And then you'd still be in the middle of that Venn diagram. It's just a different,
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Different geo, exactly. Any other questions here? Again, this is pretty simple. Personas are not something I created, so a lot of people are familiar with persona targeting. So this next technique, this is one of those techniques that a lot of people don't realize they have access to, and they don't realize that you can do this with programmatic ad buying. So what data onboarding is a lot of companies these days will create these CRMs or these databases with contacts. Maybe you're going to trade shows or events, or maybe you've purchased a list of emails, through a Dun & Bradstreet or Zoom Info, right? You can take those emails, and instead of just saying, hey, I want to shoot emails out every month to this audience, or every week, or how often you're doing your emails, you can take those emails, load them into the software, and what the software does is it'll match that email address to the device that it lives on. So, hey, we've identified this email is on this device over here, and it's not, there's no personally identifiable information that gets that, you're not crossing any boundaries there. It's just saying, hey, this email was found on this device, and it gives you the ability to then serve ads to that device. So this strategy can actually play when you're talking about the buying journey. It can play in every aspect. It'll cross every boundary because of your list, right? If you have a list that's solely focused on these people are unaware of me, they don't know who I am. Maybe you purchased the list, or maybe it's just contacts from a trade show or trade shows or events over the past year, right? They're not necessarily looking for you. Maybe they're kind of unaware of who you are still. So you can just serve some very top of the funnel brand awareness campaigns. It's just extremely clean data. So it's very, very powerful marketing. This could also be a list of customers that have reached out to you at some point and requested information. You can do what are called suppression lists, and I'll break it down different ways for clients. Typically, when you think suppression lists, it's, hey, I don't want to serve these clients ads at all. Maybe they already buy from you. So maybe you have your CRM broken down into prospects and current clients, right? So you can say, hey, these current clients, I don't want them to see ads at all. I will always put a different spin on that if there's opportunity for that. So maybe you have a brand new product that comes out, and you want to make sure your current customers know about this new product. You can run a campaign based off that suppressed list of current customers that just promotes the new product. You have the ability with this to separate it out into different campaigns based on that data. So that's really the gist of it. What's nice about data onboarding, when you're leveraging this technology, it'll also create, and you set it up to create lookalike audiences. Again, not a term I invented, but it takes your seed audience. So let's say you uploaded 10,000 emails and you were able to match 60% of them. So you're serving ads to 6,000 people regularly. What the technology does is say, okay, here's your seed audience. We see what they're doing online. They're online doing these types of searches, consuming this type of content, exhibiting this type of behavior. Well, here's a group of people. This audience here is doing the same types of things. They're visiting the same websites. They're doing the same type of search activity. They're exhibiting the same types of behavior. You don't have them in your data, but it's likely the same type of buyer or same type of person. So this is a really powerful tool. These two techniques, data onboarding and lookalike audiences, we leverage that a lot at my company. They're just really good tools if you have the data. It's very clean, right? It's your data, it's first party, and then turning into lookalike audiences. Again, they're doing the same behaviors. If it looks and smells like a cat, it probably is a cat, right? So same thing. Any questions on these two pieces, Claire? I say silence is
sorry. Yeah,
no,
no questions right now.
Perfect. And if you think of a question, obviously don't hesitate to ask, even if it's something from a slide ago. Addressable geofencing is a really neat tool. Very, very nice technology to leverage depending on the type of business you are and the type of data you have. A lot of people will call this household level targeting because that's how it was initially introduced. You could actually say, hey, if I want to, target a certain city, right? You can go and say, okay, give me all the addresses within this city. And you can take and create geofences around each home and serve ads to those homes individually and get very specific with what you're putting in front of that audience, right? I'm here in Texas, so if a company wanted to specifically target, Prosper, Texas, maybe a new store opened up, they could geofence every home in Prosper and say, hey, we've got a new Kroger opening on Preston Road, right? So you're serving ads specifically to houses. With a business, you can leverage that same technology and that same type of data. If you have a list, and I'll call this account-based marketing or ABM marketing, if you have a list of all of your potential customers, maybe you're have a small focus, maybe you have 150 customers that you're wanting to get in front of, and that's it. You've identified 150 potential customers or buyers for your product within your industry, your segment. You could geofence every single one of those businesses leveraging the address. With addressable, you can actually layer in email addresses and things like that as well, or job titles. So you could say, okay, here is the address for the businesses I want to get in front of. What addressable geofencing does is it draws a virtual perimeter around that address using plat lines, and it allows you to market to people that are specifically within that geo. So if someone crosses that geo, they cross that fence and they go into that business, you're able to capture them and serve them ads on their devices. So this is really great for account-based marketing. That's how I like to leverage this. We're going to go on to the technology a little bit more and kind of show you how I've leveraged it for clients in the past. Geofencing is a technology that's been around for a little while now, but we leverage it a lot for events. So if there's events that you're going to, maybe there's a big trade show that you're going to be attending. With geofencing, you have the ability to not only just have the technology create that perimeter for you using addressable geofencing, but you can also manually configure your fence or your geo. So in this example, I use the K. Bailey Hutchins Convention Center here in Dallas. Let's pretend for a second that there's going to be a convention going on there that that your audience is going to be at, right? That there's a high concentration of your buyers at this event. So you maybe want to be there or maybe you don't. You can leverage this technology or this technique even for shows that you're not going to be at, which is awesome. So what we would do is we would draw our geo around K. Bailey. And I don't use the technology. So I could have probably got a little better with my geo. I could have refined it a little bit more, but I made it just a little generic boundary here. But let's say, again, just sticking with the example of superintendents, let's pretend Superintendent James is someone that crosses that boundary. Again, the technology is going to capture anyone that crosses that fence. And when they enter that fence and they go into this K. Bailey Hutchins Convention Center in Dallas, it's going to allow me, the advertiser, to serve ads to them on those devices that we're capturing. So most likely cell phones, tablets, laptops, things of that nature. So anyone that crosses that boundary, we're able to capture and then serve ads to. You can leverage this to serve ads while you're at the event. But the way I like to leverage it a lot for my clients is not so much at the event. Yes, that's a great way to target someone, but my focus is always post-event. Again, why did you go to that event? Why did you want to be there? Or why was it an event of focus? Because of the audience. That's what's most important to you. It's not the 3 days that you're there. If you think about it, right, it's not the 3 days that you were actually at the event. It's the audience themselves that was important to you. With this technology, once I've captured them, I can hold them into my data segment for 30 days or as long as they're exhibiting behavior. So I've captured, Superintendent Dave as he's crossed this boundary, and I was able to serve him ads while he's there. But when he gets back to his office, I can continue to serve him ads. We talked about this earlier, and I told you I'd bring it up again. Claire mentioned how, we get creeped out because we think they're listening to us, right? And I talked about cross device matching. What happens is with Superintendent Dave, I've captured him on his cell phone. I've captured him on this mobile device right here, but he's back in his office later that week and he's on his desktop computer. Technology is so powerful. It'll match devices. It'll say, okay, this user on this cell phone is logged into Google or Outlook or LinkedIn or Facebook on this device. but they're also logged in using that same login information on this device. They are most likely the same person. I can almost guarantee you've seen that happen to you. I was actually online. I was working yesterday and I was looking at this very specific university. One of the associations that we partner with, they're an exhibitor with this university, and we have an ad placement available. I kid you not, this is a real story. I sat down on my couch last night, and sure enough, one of the commercials I saw on TV was for that university. Now, you're thinking that's not possible. It actually is when you use streaming services. So I actually use YouTube TV. So that is all streamed, right? It's all online. It's internet based. I don't have like a cable box, right? So they're able, I'm on the same IP as my computer in my office. So they'll match them and say, hey, these devices are on the same network. It can even do it that way. So this is a really powerful tool to deliver ads to highly refined audiences. Any questions here before we move on with either addressable geofencing or geofencing in the subject matter of events?
Nope, we're good right now.
Perfect. So behavioral targeting is a really common technique, and this is one of those techniques that we talk about a lot with clients. And most of the time when I'm talking to customers, they're like, oh yeah, someone's looking for my products will show up. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. If someone's online and they're searching for you, you want to get in front of them. Specifically when it comes to product keywords, I'm typically going to tell you we're going to use search engine marketing for that, Google, and we'll get to that. With behavioral, it's any behavior that's relevant. Anything that anyone would do if they're online looking for your competitors' products, if they're online looking at associations that are relevant to your business, if they're online looking at content that's specific to the industry, any behavior, the way I explain it to a client is you'll make a keyword cloud of every keyword, every behavior that's relevant to your business. Competitors' names, URLs, industry events, association URLs, association names and acronyms, anything that says if this person's online doing these things, it's my customer, I want to get in front of them. When you're leveraging Google, you can't do all these things without sacrificing quality score. You can focus on your product keywords, and that's really it. But we'll talk about that later. So behavioral targeting is a really nice tool that when you're just wanting to target every single behavior that's relevant to your business and serve ads to people that exhibit those behaviors. We're going to move on to contextual targeting. So if you think about the way we navigate and use the internet and how connected everything is, every day I start my day with clearing all my badges or notifications on my phone. Like I literally am one of those guys. I'm OCD. I can't stand notifications on my phone. So one of the first things I do is I'll scroll through LinkedIn in the morning, drinking my coffee, scrolling through LinkedIn. What happens when you are scrolling through LinkedIn or Facebook and you find an article that's engaging? You're like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. You're not going to read the entire article in LinkedIn or in Facebook or whatever platform you're on. You're going to click the link that's associated to that article, and it's going to take you to that website where that article is housed. Well, a lot of these websites, you can buy those ads in real time. So contextual targeting is just serving ads on contextually relevant websites. It's exactly how it sounds. We're going to focus on websites, or you're going to focus on websites where the content of the website is specific to your audience. So again, if I'm targeting superintendents, and someone's online and reading these types of articles, it's likely that they're a superintendent based on the content on the website. Let's serve ads there. So pretty basic strategy there. Any questions on anything that we've just discussed between behavioral or contextual?
No questions on that. We have a question from someone that's from a few slides ago, but so I've just asked them to give that question, and then we'll either get to it in a minute or we'll get to it at the end.
You want me to answer it now?
No, he hasn't given it to us yet. So
okay,
feel free to put it in. We'll get to it. Okay.
Perfect. So let's move on. Site retargeting is just responsible marketing. We kind of talked about this earlier. If someone hits your website, you want to stay engaged with them. In the B2B space, most of the time, and I think statistics is 98 to 99% of the time, they're not going to convert. Now, conversion in a business setting is not what a consumer brand would consider a conversion. It's not always a purchase, right? Not most B2B clients don't have a cart on their website where they're going to check out. A conversion could be requesting information or picking up the phone and calling you. right? Most clients that come to your website are not going to convert on that first visit. What they're going to do is they're going to gather as much information as they can from your website. They're going to take that back. If they feel that you're a good fit, they're going to maybe put you on their short list, right? Typically, if I'm in the market to buy, say, a CRM, I'm going to find the top 5 CRMs that I like, and then I'm going to review those with my team, and then we're going to kind of break those down, and then maybe we request some demos, right? You have this long process that's taking place. So you want to make sure that someone that's going to your website, you're staying engaged with. Again, I call it responsible marketing, because you're kind of irresponsible if you're not marketing to someone that's gone to your website. If they're showing that level of interest of going to your website, you want to make sure you're staying in front of them. So this is a really nice tool, something that every client should use. It's typically a smaller percentage for a B2B company. It's a smaller percentage of your overall impression volume because it's solely based on your website traffic alone, right? So it only, you can only serve as many ads as the visitors that are going to your website, right? So pretty simple technology technique. This is what most clients are familiar with. When I'm talking programmatic, and I bring up the examples of, you go to Amazon, you leave Amazon, now you're seeing their ads everywhere. That's what most people are familiar with. You can do it off your own website as well. So that's programmatic in a nutshell. This is a slide that just talks about video content. I put this slide here. Every technique that we've talked about, every strategy that we've gone over so far, you do not have to deliver just a static ad. You can actually deliver video content. You could do over-the-air TV or connected TV, like I mentioned yesterday with that university that served me an ad. This is going to be a little bit more of this specifically is very expensive. When you want to run those 15-second, 30-second commercials, it's very, very expensive. So not every company has the advertising budget for it, but it's really impactful if you can run it. Because again, it's using all these techniques that we talked about. So you're not serving commercials to just random people. The commercials that you're delivering are relevant based on the audience that you're wanting to get in front of. But even just serving video ads across YouTube or any of these websites that have video players, like you'll notice a lot of the websites we go to these days will actually have a video player on the website. They'll usually be on that like side panel, or maybe on like the bottom right-hand corner or bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a video player. But you can leverage video ads. YouTube's the most common example. When you go to YouTube to watch your video content that you're going to watch, you'll have to watch like a 15-second pre-roll video or a short 10 to 15-second mid-roll or post-roll video. That's all video ads that can be purchased programmatically. But video is very, very impactful. These stats are just talking about how impactful it is. This is probably my favorite stat, not just because it's the highest, but that's what marketing is all about, right? You're doing, you exhibit marketing, you do marketing so that people remember who you are, right? These mega companies that you think about, the Coca-Colas and the Nikes and the Johnson & Johnsons, right? These huge brands, they don't spend millions of advertising a year because they're big. They're big because they've spent millions of dollars on advertising. They've spent lots of time investing in their brand. And that's what advertising is all about, is that brand recall. Do you remember them when it's time to make a purchase? Do you think of them? If your TV went out today, quickly name the top brands that you're going to go to. Me, it's Sony, Samsung, right? Those are my top, maybe LG too, depending on what type of TV I want, right? But in my mind, those brands have already done their work of implanting themselves or impressing themselves in my mind. So that's what advertising is all about, is this rate of recall. So video is really great for that. So that is programmatic. I know it's a lot of content. We're going really quickly through a lot of it. Obviously, trying to answer any questions that come up. Anything else so far?
Yeah, there's actually, it's a great question. And I remember when you and I first started talking, and I thought the same thing. So it's great that you can do all this, but how? Like, how do you go about it? How do you do it? And then another question: is there any book that you could recommend on programmatic marketing? So
they're probably not going to find books on it. There's lots of content online on programmatic. If you just start to Google programmatic advertising or programmatic ad buying, there's lots and lots of content online. It's a digital technology. How to run the programs. A lot of the companies that we work with as in my company don't have the advertising budget to go directly to what's called a DSP, demand side platform. So you as a company can't go directly to like a trade desk. That's one of the vendors that our company uses. unless you have, like, they'll have an entry level threshold where you've got to spend $10,000 a month with them or you can't play. It's a pay to play type thing, right? You can't go directly to them unless you've got this type of budget, but you can partner with an agency or an advertising firm where I partner with, we leverage Trade Desk. I don't need you to spend 10,000 a month because I have all of my clients collectively hit that minimum threshold, but they're what's called DSPs or demand side platforms. You have to go to one of them to run programmatic advertising because they have access to what are called the SSPs. It's a lot of jargon that's really confusing. When you start to get in the weeds of programmatic, it literally will blow your mind to maybe a point where you get so confused that you just throw in the towel. Like it's very complex technology, but just partner with a company that has access to these DSPs and you'll be good to go.
I think that's the key thing. You have to partner with an agency, right? I mean, nothing is free, so you have to partner with someone who's going to charge you to do it. But I think it's such a minefield out there. It's not something you'd want to do yourself anyway. Speaking as a business 100%. Person, I don't know that. I know my business. I know what I'm good at doing, and I know what I'm not good at doing. And so you need to find somebody that you can partner with that knows their stuff, can help you with the things that you struggle with, the content and how to do it and how to implement it. And I would recommend to anybody that if you're going to find somebody to help you with that, find a B2B digital marketing agency. Don't go to a B2C person. Because if you're on B2B, obviously, I mean, if you're a B2C person, it's different. But I would find somebody who can really support that and someone who you feel comfortable with. And interview a few people because there are plenty of people out there that do this. So go with who you feel comfortable with, but go with a professional who knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. And to Claire's point, like even if you do have the budget to go directly to a DSP on your own, like a Trade Desk, do you know how to set it up? Because it's not full service. Like when you go to them, it's here's the technology. I've given you access to the vehicle. Now go ahead and drive it. It's like renting a U-Haul. They give you access to the U-Haul, but you have to know how to operate it yourself.
It's kind of like if you're talking about SEO or something like that. If you don't know how you might be able to access the SEO settings for your website, but if you don't know what you need to put in it and how to do it, it's pointless anyway. Even if you know how to do it from a practical standpoint, actually executing it is, is story. And Paul, I'll get back to you. I'll send you some keywords for what to search for on YouTube. But I mean, I think the biggest keyword to look for would be programmatic advertising. And that will probably send you down a rabbit hole there of, other things that will pop up in there. But yeah, YouTube is a great place to look up stuff like this.
There's lots of content out there. I mean, even just hitting Google with a search for programmatic advertising, you're going to find lots of content and articles and things of that nature that can help you kind of start to dive in and research it a little bit more. Because again, this is very quick. I know the webinar is only slotted for an hour. We've already used 45 minutes of that time almost. So let's move on to social media.
And you were worried you wouldn't have enough content.
I know, goodness. So social media, and we'll go through these next couple strategies quickly because people are familiar with them. It's not as much educating as it is just talking about them. LinkedIn for B2B companies is an extremely powerful tool. And when I work, and I just speak for myself here, when I'm working with clients and customers, it's amazing how many of them are not leveraging LinkedIn. And this goes back to what Claire was just talking about. Advertising on LinkedIn is very expensive. LinkedIn has a walled garden. If you think about it, right? All of the data they have is very, very clean. How do I know that the person I'm wanting to get in front of is a superintendent? Well, they went into their job title function in LinkedIn in their profile and said, I'm a superintendent. So it's very, very clean data. It's very expensive. There are some audiences within LinkedIn, it'll cost you $50 for a single click. So the last thing you want to do is build out a campaign that's wrong, that's incorrect, because you're going to spend a lot of money or waste a lot of money targeting the wrong type of people. So there's a lot of ways that you can leverage LinkedIn. You can go in and you can target by industries. So we're talking specifically ads here. We're not talking about your organic posts. Organic posting is really nice, right? This is actually my feed here. Organic posting is really nice if you have a very large following, right? Because organic can only take you as far as your audience. If you've got 10 followers, If you have 10 people that follow your company or your LinkedIn page, that's your maximum potential outside of someone sharing it, right? Your maximum organic potential is those 10 people will see your ad if you're lucky. We're talking about the paid side of Google, or the paid side of LinkedIn, excuse me. And I've outlined an example here, but you can go through and you can create audiences based on industries, company size, job titles or function, job experience, degrees. Maybe you want to focus on someone that has X degree. Like I work with universities that have master's degree programs. This is a perfect example where I want to target anyone that has a bachelor's degree in X field and serve them ads. You can also target someone based on the member groups. So if they're following groups like a particular association that you're familiar with or interested in, anyone that targets those groups or follows those groups, you can serve ads to as well. So what you do is you're going in and you're creating this ideal audience. You're saying, okay, I want to reach this person, just like persona targeting. I want to reach this person within LinkedIn. And you'll create this audience size, and it could be, I've seen some upwards into hundreds of thousands of people. And then you're able to serve ads to them when they're browsing through LinkedIn. And this is an example here. I don't know if you can read this or not. It's St. Edward's University, and they served me an ad for a Master's of Science in Digital Marketing and Analytics. I'll give you one guess why they thought this was a good program or a good ad for me. And it's based on my job title, based on what I do. They thought, okay, this person probably has a degree in marketing. Let's serve them an ad for the master's degree program. So that's what LinkedIn audience targeting does. Again, it's really refined. It's really clean data. It is really expensive. If you know how to leverage it, it works really, really well. You can serve single image ads. What's nice about LinkedIn is I can serve a video ad as well. There's no extra cost for it. So we always push, I'm always going to recommend leveraging video when you can. And you can even run campaigns for form fills. And what's nice about, I'm not a huge form fill guy from I visit your website and fill out a form, simply because most of the time it's you want my daughter's first and middle and last name, her date of birth, her social. Oh, but that's not enough. You also want to know my son's name and all the beneficiaries I have. You ask for a lot of information a lot of time in a form fill, right? A lot of times form fills, if you're doing it incorrectly, in my mind, again, you have way too much there. What's nice with LinkedIn's form fill is the majority of it is already filled in for them because they're logged in already. So LinkedIn knows who they are. All that information is there. You're simply selecting a couple options and off you go. The form's been submitted. So form fills are nice in LinkedIn. With the LinkedIn program, you can leverage different types of models. So they have impression-based models where you can just buy based on the number of impressions you want to serve to the audience. They have the cost per click option, which is the model I run a lot for my clients. You're just paying for clicks. Impressions are a bonus. So you're serving ads until you hit your budget threshold within LinkedIn, which is X number of clicks. So you might serve 10,000 ads to get the clicks you need. Doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. And then they have form fill options as well. So LinkedIn is a really great platform for businesses.
And you can really narrow down your targeting in LinkedIn, right? I mean, you can narrow it down to people who are in, who have an email address that have the name ABC in it, or, whatever, and down to a company, you could narrow it down to kind of like with programmatic, right? You could narrow it down to the criteria you want, but it's much more specific in the targeting because people in LinkedIn have entered all their profile and they're almost looking to be found, right?
Right. And that's a great point, Claire, something we didn't talk about. If you have data, maybe you have, a list of companies you want to target. You can serve ads to specific people within those companies by entering that data into LinkedIn. You can say, hey, here are 100 URLs of companies that I want to get in front of. It'll match those URLs. So LinkedIn's platform will match them. Say, okay, we've got 80% of those in here. If you want to take it a step further, you can layer in job titles and target specifically those job titles within those companies. You can also take email addresses and load those email addresses directly into LinkedIn. Say, hey, here's 10,000 email addresses of potential customers, and it'll match. Now, the downside, this is something I always talk to customers about, and this is the only caveat to that is, most of the time with LinkedIn, you're registering with your personal email address. You're not registering with your business email. So if you have a lot of business emails, you'll find a lower match rate. That's why I like the idea of saying, hey, here are the companies I want to get in front of. If you have that type of data, here are the companies I want to reach. Here's a list of 1,000 URLs of companies that I want to get in front of, and the job titles. That's a really easy way to do it. Again, that using emails is really good. It's just limiting, you could be limited if half your audience is registered with their personal email versus their business, and all you have is their business, is you're not going to hit them.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think just we have one question, Paul, and just to answer that, it's not only your followers that see the ads, right? So that's the whole point, is you want to get more followers. So you target who you want to see the ads, because they're paid ads. So LinkedIn will put them in those people's feeds based on the criteria that you give.
100%. Yeah, we're not focusing. It's not going to be this type of post right here. It's not the organic stuff that you're posting. You're literally creating an ad and saying, this is who I want to get this in front of, whether they follow you or not. They don't have to have any idea of who you are, but if they meet those check boxes, right? If they hit all those check boxes of all the things that you're focusing on, that again, maybe it's a job title that you're focused on or an industry. If they kind of meet the criteria, they're seeing ads for you. Matter if they follow you or not. So let's move on to, if there's no other questions on LinkedIn, let's move into Facebook. Facebook's one of those programs that, yes, it's impactful. Yes, you can use it. But what I will tell most of my clients is it depends on who you're wanting to get in front of. Facebook doesn't, a lot of times, right, you're not going in and saying, I want to target someone based on this job title, because Facebook doesn't capture that data. But you can go in if you have certain information of your audience and you want to leverage it. Maybe interests and behaviors are one of those things that I'll leverage a lot for clients. If they're going online, they have interest in these types of groups. Like if you're targeting nurses, for example, or teachers, there are a lot of nurses and teachers in Facebook, and they follow these nursing and teaching groups. Coaches are in Facebook a lot. So there are some pretty niche groups that are in Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, it's the same platform, so you hit both. When you advertise with Facebook, you get ads in Instagram automatically. But what I like to leverage a lot, or I'll tell my clients to leverage a lot, and this is actually a real example. Again, this is my feed. This was a company that I was working with for one of our associations, and I went into Facebook, and sure enough, I got their ad. So this is something that I would say you could leverage with Facebook without question and with 100% certainty that you're reaching the right people. If you just set up a program with Facebook where you're doing their retargeting technology, they'll put a pixel on your website. When someone goes to your website, it captures them. They go back to Facebook, and boom, they're seeing your ads in Facebook. So it's a really easy platform to do that with. Again, it can be limiting if you have a very niche audience that you're trying to go after and you can't find groups within LinkedIn, or within Facebook rather. They don't have the ability to set up a geo, an audience based on a job title. It's not a thing. They don't offer that. You can target by age, gender, demographics, interest, behaviors. That's their main ways that you can target. So maybe targeting off interest and behaviors, or groups. That's another one that I don't have on here. Like I said, a lot of there's like these nursing groups within Facebook. You could go in and say, hey, I want to target nursing groups, and you'll search that in their platform, and you'll find all these groups that are focused on nursing. You can target everyone that's a member of those groups. So that's something you can do with Facebook. Any questions on this before we move on? We're running out of time, so I want to be quick.
Yeah, no, we're good. There's no questions.
Perfect. And if you think of something, we can definitely address it. So this is a strategy that, again, everyone's familiar with, search engine marketing, or PPC. This is not something, again, that I just made up and I just introduced it for the first time. You've seen this. So I do want to talk quickly about and differentiate the differences between SEO and SEM. So on that second slide where we were talking about the buying journey, and I think even Claire mentioned SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. What it means is you're optimizing your website that you're showing high organically in the results. So when someone goes online and they do a search, if it's relevant for you, you organically will show high in the results. That's search engine optimization. Yes, you can pay companies to do it for you to optimize your website, but if you have someone internally that's really good at search engine optimization, you can do it internally. You're not paying Google for it. It's just something that you're doing on your website. I will tell you, disclaimer about SEO, it's very difficult. It's very, very time consuming. And when you want good SEO, you pay for good SEO, meaning you're paying someone internally, could be a lot of money, to optimize your website. A lot of people that I know will pay a company like a search engine optimization company or a firm to do it, and it's not cheap. And it's constant, it's ongoing. Google will change their algorithms on occasion, so it kind of keeps you on your toes, if you will. Probably a decade ago, you might have heard the term meta tags. You used to be able to go into your website and on the back end create a bunch of meta tags, and what that meta tag would do is increase your SEO. But you could put all these meta tags on your website for things that you don't actually sell. So classic example or easy example, let's say you're Ford and you want to target everyone that's looking for a Chevy. You could put the meta tag Chevy on your website, Chevrolet, Chevy truck, Chevy, and all the Chevy car names. Even though you don't sell Chevy, you are a Ford manufacturer. Even though you don't sell Chevy, you've optimized your website so when someone's searching for a Chevy truck, you show up. That's what meta tags would do. And you could put 100 of the same meta tag on there and it would boost your SEO. Well, Google shut that off quickly. You're actually punished for doing those things, and not like in a cruel way where they're whipping you. But there's a thing called quality score with Google. And if your ads are not relevant to the content on your website, if everything doesn't match, they'll punish you from a quality score standpoint, and you won't show up the way you should. So SEM is the paid side. It's really great for driving leads. It's probably the best lead generation tool you will find. I have an example of what search engine marketing looks like for those that are kind of not familiar with SEM. So I just did a generic search. This is something I did yesterday for B2B marketing, just to kind of show you, right? All these ones in this outline square are paid ads. It says ad next to it. With Google, the top 4 placements and then the bottom 3 placements on every page can be purchased. That is SEM. What's nice about SEM is a quick fix, right? It is an easy way to show up when you don't normally show up. Also, if you have great SEO, but you're showing up in the ad and you're showing up organically down below, that's a plus for you as a business, right? That is oh, wow, they're showing up high here and here. They must be relevant. I'm going to get the click. You're more likely to get the click when you show up in both places. But this is the paid side of Google. This is the majority where the majority of their revenue comes from, is the paid side. I have clients spending $80,000 a month in Google. You can spend as much as you want. And in some cases, for the smaller niche businesses, you're going to have most likely a cap because there's only so many searches that take place for what you do. But most of the time, you'll have lots of room to move in here and grow. But this is an easy way to drive leads. This person that's doing this search is exhibiting an extremely high level of intent, right? If I'm online and I'm Googling X, I'm probably looking for X. I'm probably needing it, or I wouldn't be searching for it, right? I wouldn't have any need to search for it if I didn't need it. So if I'm searching for it, I need it, I want it. So to show up high and to be seen dramatically increases your odds for getting that business. There's actually a saying, people will joke about it, that you could hide a dead body on page 2 of Google. Most people don't go past the first page anymore. There's so much content right there on that first page and it's all relevant. Why go past the first page? So if you're showing up on page 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, likelihood is you're never going to be seen anyway. So that's why search engine marketing is so valuable, because you're paying to show up high, but only when someone is looking for what you do. With Google's program, let's say the search was B2B marketing and the search was done and I clicked on LinkedIn because, oh yeah, man, I should really explore LinkedIn's platform and what they have to offer. So I clicked on that LinkedIn and I'm gone. I've gone to LinkedIn's website and I'm looking on LinkedIn now. With Google's program, you could also run display ads based on that exact search to those people that exhibited those searches. So they've gone to LinkedIn, they were looking at LinkedIn, and then they just go on for their normal day. And an hour later, they're on Yahoo, and boom, you're serving an ad to the person that did that search for B2B marketing on Yahoo's website. So they have a really nice combination of what you can deliver. It's not just the actual text ads here in Google, it can be display ads across their network as well. So search engine marketing is, I would tell you, is an absolute must for your business. It is crucial to winning business when someone's looking for what you have. So that's that, guys. I'm sorry I went a little bit longer than I wanted. I wanted to leave a lot more time for questions, but as you can tell, I'm a chatty Cathy, and we took up the entire hour.
We did. Now, and it was great. It was really, it's so informative, and you clearly know your stuff, and you deliver it in a great way that's really helpful. So I'm going to quickly ask if you have any last minute questions, put them in, and we'll try and get to them before we sign off. And Alan, I just want to say thank you. That was really, really great. And it's fascinating because it's a lot of things that we as consumers don't understand how it works, right? And how you can apply that into your business is really, really helpful. Sorry, I was just looking at one of the questions that popped in.
No, you're good.
On that note, what I think I'll say is, because it wasn't a question, we appreciate it. To everybody who's been attended today, thank you very much. This will be available on YouTube in a couple of days, as I said at the beginning. Please tell your friends, please tell your colleagues about SCORE. If you have any questions, again, reach out to SCORE. Alan has kindly put his contact information there, so if anybody wants to grab that, it's right here. And on that note, I will say thanks, and we will see everybody next time. Have a good day. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, everyone. You're welcome.